sound fine in my head. Like, you sound good. So now we're recording, and I don't think the ceiling fan is fucking shit up. Let me pull up my notes. Okay, hello, podcast listeners. This is the Untitled Star Trek The Original Series Recap Podcast, title pending. I am Adam Ordall Quinnell, one of your intrepid hosts on this voyage to strange new worlds, but not the show Strange New Worlds. And I'm here with...
Not quite.
I'm here with other hosts.
Oh, yes. Hi, my name's Al Hirt.
Al Hirt, everybody. I don't like... I always feel like co-host implies that... I don't understand why I always feel like co-host implies that there's an alpha host somehow.
Oh, no.
So yeah, we're both other hosts of this podcast.
We're both pretty amateur at this too, granted.
Yeah. And I refuse to ask anybody how to do it. You know what I know so many people who run podcasts, and I'm actively not soliciting their advice. Because hey, let's all learn together. We're gonna learn about podcasting while you learn about Star Trek, the original series. And Today, this is the first official episode of the podcast. We did a pilot that you might hear someday, possibly. So now we're into the series proper. And basically, each episode we're gonna kind of talk about. We're gonna talk about an episode of Star Trek, the original series. We'll talk about what we think about Star Trek, maybe touch on what's going on with Star Trek now. But we're just going to do it kind of like a recap. And I'm sure there are other podcasts that do this, but god damn it, not other hosted by us. So today we're going to be talking about the first proper episode that aired, titled The Man Trap. And we might discuss how some of these things aired out of order and such, and that was just how there were various reasons for that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the title, The Man Trap. It's kind of implying that it's just for men, but, you know, it's kind of more of just a trap in general, just kind of like a...
As we see, because Uhura also tries to get trapped.
Exactly, yeah.
And we'll get into that. So this episode aired. So how I kind of envisioned at least these early episodes of the podcast going is I'm just going to read a few little facts about the thing, basically from Paramount Plus, the app that we're watching this shit on. And I should make a note that Paramount Plus has the remasters of the original series. So we're going to talk about how awesome the redone effects look and how that adds to the experience of watching the original series. Before we get into the format stuff, I've been watching Star Trek since I was a little kid, since the late 80s. My big entryway was Star Trek, The Next Generation, watching it in syndication with my dad. Al, quick little 30-second, history with Star Trek.
Basically just started with Next Generation, and I went up until Voyager, and now I'm watching bits and pieces of Voyager now, and then working on the original series here too. And
not to give away anything about the age gap between Al and I, but you started watching it 25 years after it originally aired, correct?
Oh yeah,
like you're coming to Star Trek
pretty fresh
as somebody who knew what a meme was.
Oh yeah,
before you saw Star Trek.
So
that's that, and that's I think I'm hoping that's going to kind of inform how we talk about this stuff. And in the pilot, we covered all of that in much longer and more detail, and I don't know that it was that interesting, quite frankly. I don't know that if I
experiences.
We're not going to get our Lisa mattress sponsorship from that. So this episode, The Man Trap, originally aired September 8th, 1966. The synopsis from Paramount Plus is simply a shape-shifting, salt-craving creature terrorizes the crew of the Enterprise, and that's it. So that's what we've got.
Very straightforward.
And it's and so is there anything that we've also got a purchased from a thrift store Star Trek compendium that was written by
Alan Asherman.
This is one of those things that you see at a thrift store wedged between LPs. and it's all that you would expect from an early episode guide. Before we get into the plot of the episode, is there anything that you'd want to mention from that?
Oh,
Not to put you on the spot.
No, it's nothing like that. It's just basically that they just started. They hit the ground running. This episode has been pretty crazy in terms of camera work and like costume design again, just like the previous episode that we saw.
Yeah, it's like it seems like a mature series kind of out of the gate, I found. And as we'll talk about, this wasn't the first episode. So they shot a pilot with a completely different cast that we discussed on our pilot, and NBC rejected it and said,
they said it was too sour and
too
dour.
Yeah, it's also kind of sour. But yeah, it was too dark, and they want something a little bit more upbeat, which really we'll discuss how this is the answer to that. I don't get it. But so then they ordered another pilot that actually aired as, I think, episode 3 or 4 of the original series, titled Where No Man Has Gone Before. But then The Man Trap ended up being the first episode that NBC aired, or, for whatever reason, right?
Right.
So it opens, as so many Star Trek episodes do, with an amazing shot of like the Enterprise orbiting a planet. And because these are the remasters, it looks awesome.
It's always incredible work that you've always seen done in the stars and the ships. Just the surfaces of the planets, especially, just the way they keep, shifting and stuff.
Yeah, and that they're doing so much with so little.
Exactly, yeah.
And on the backlots in Burbank or wherever this was shot. What's interesting for me is this. So this episode starts with an away team with McCoy and Kirk and a rando. He's not wearing a red shirt, but he's the prototypical red shirt. I believe his shirt was blue.
Yeah.
But he does have the fate of a red shirt. So what's happening is they're beaming down to a planet where McCoy's ex-girlfriend has been and is the wife of a scientist who's studying whatever on this really hot, arid desert planet. And Kirk is giving McCoy shit about like, oh, we're going to see your ex-girlfriend. Did you bring her flowers? And I think it's hilarious that this show thought we needed that kind of story, right?
Just right off
we're in
the bat.
space. That's interesting. They're like, oh, people are not going to give a shit. And that's where one of the changes that is obvious from the studio notes that they gave on the pilot. Like they're like, hey, you gotta have one of them have an ex-girlfriend in the first episode that we air, because being in space out around a planet, a desert planet, it ain't enough. People aren't gonna watch it.
They gotta have that human pull too.
And I
just
guess
ridiculous stuff.
Nowadays we wouldn't get that right away. They would build up to showing those types of relationships between the characters. So he's giving McCoy shit. The colors on these remasters, this isn't an advertisement for the remasters. Trust me, nobody's paying us any money to talk about Star Trek, but they look so good.
Yeah, they do look really great. And just compare that shot with the exterior to the interior shots of the bridge, and they just have just straight up images just pasted on the walls to represent galaxies. It's insane how far it's been.
And they really make it work with the. There's so much is done on this show with the lighting of the environments, right? Like they really cheat a lot with like the bright red lights or the blue lights. They add all this depth.
And lighting definitely always helps with those shots.
I mean, we're on a podcast talking about a TV show. I was saying, hey, lighting, that's good.
Yes.
I agree that they should do lighting. I think they should do compelling lighting in TV shows. You heard it here
definitely
first.
more better. Well, it's definitely better though.
I will not cut
that we bring up that. What's the word? Just the beginning of when they mean Nancy and all that stuff, and how the camera pans out in a frame and in frame with that actress.
Yeah, so they get to Professor. First off, I love that his name is Professor Crater. The professor they're going on to see. It's like a Mega Man villain, or it's like a knockoff of a Sonic the Hedgehog. His nemesis is Professor Crater, and so they go to Professor Crater's little hut in this very arid desert planet. And he's the guy that's married to McCoy's ex. And when McCoy's ex, when Nancy, her name is, enters, they do this weird thing that they don't explain at all, where whenever each character is looking at her, because remember from the Paramount Plus synopsis, a shape-shifting salt-craving alien.
Yeah.
So depending on what character is looking at her, she looks different. Like when the rando guy that's down there with them is looking at her, it looks like his hot sweetheart, somebody.
It was some date that he met on another planet or something.
And then when McCoy's looking at her, it's Nancy, and she hasn't aged a day. He even comments on that. He hasn't aged a day. And when Kirk sees her, she's somebody else entirely. And there's even and it's just so funny that they're like, yeah, people aren't going to understand this unless we have an ex-girlfriend angle. But then they do some shit like that where it's like, if I was watching that as just a person in 1960 whatever, I'd be like, what the hell's going on? I've only seen 4 episodes of Twilight Zone at this point. I'm not ready for this kind of shit. And they make it work.
No, yeah, I think they really do make it work, but they obviously, it's nice that they did the one shortcut, though, with the wig and stuff and the makeup, just to make the character look younger and older. And there's still the question of, like, okay, is it a lady? Is it a guy? Why is it shape-shifting constantly?
Yeah, how does that benefit it? Because obviously we're watching a show about outer space, so it's an alien or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that it's interesting because McCoy and Kirk are talking, and McCoy's like, she hasn't aged a day, and Kirk, because the version that Kirk saw was older, and Kirk is like, I mean, she's a handsome woman, but she definitely doesn't look 25. And we see and obviously, when we talk about this show, we'll touch on the hilarious misogyny. Not that it's hilarious that it was misogyny, but it's like that very Mad Men-esque. It's like Mad Men in space. Like, women can't do this. Like, women can't. You're a woman, and there's a lot of that. But it's in this case, it's interesting how they do it.
Excuse though, because it's always what is it? Professor Crater comes back in, and they're just talking, and he brings up how he's used to being isolated and lonely and stuff, and he's very used to just being to solitude and just being alone. Whereas he goes, Nancy, she's a woman. She needs to interact with other people.
Yes, and I had that in notes too. That Dr. Crater was like, "Hey, women be getting lonely." And you know how women are. They need to be able to go down to the market.
So bizarre.
And we don't even get that far into this before Dr. Crater. Before we see their obsession with salt. Dr. Crater, we need more salt. He shows them how little salt they have left in their salt jar. And they need salt because it's a hot environment. That's what he says. Now, I wanted to do my due diligence and look that up. But I must admit that
salt helps.
Why
expel water?
Why salt in hot environment? Let's see here. The key. Oh wait. Hello. I'm back.
Oh, can you hear that?
Oh yeah. Oh, you were adjusting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh no, did my 12? We're recording this on a 12-year-old MacBook Pro. You can hear a little bug running around inside of it that's powering it. So the key role sodium plays in enabling the body to retain water makes it very important during a heat wave when dehydration becomes much more of a risk. Symptoms of dehydration include intense thirst, headache, weakness, nausea, and vomiting, or in the case of our guest star for this episode, wanting to chomp on the salt out of a person's body. Because they're on... we're going to talk a lot about salt, and I have to say, this monster really hits a nerve with me. Right? If it craves salt, I relate to that. I crave salt. I ate my second breakfast Baconator of the week this morning. Yesterday morning and this morning I went to Wendy's and got breakfast. This is not sponsored, but Wendy's is not paying me to say this. But I understand because I too crave salt. But after they talk about how they need this salt, everybody kind of goes. So the Nancy leaves and the rando crewman follows her. And then 2 seconds later, oh my God, they're screaming and everybody comes out and Nancy's doing the shape changing face again, depending on who's looking at her. The crewman's dead with a bunch of spots on his face. And what does she say? What does she say happened?
Says he fell, right?
Well, she says he ate a plant he shouldn't have eaten.
He ate a plant that he shouldn't have eaten and he curled up.
And yes, we know that these crewmen can be dumb and eat stuff and
Yeah,
do stuff
but-
they're not supposed to do, but like he was gone for 4 seconds. So what? So in that 2 minutes that he was not around the captain, she's saying that he went, "Oh my God, plants!" And then he like that was
Just immediately, though, just maybe possibly based off of what she told him, or it's just so strange because it's like someone panics and this person just died immediately, and it's like obviously the first suspect is the person right next to them, but
they're
think
seeing her as
just-
somebody they love.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
they're just so enamored, and they completely believe her immediately.
It's an excellent.
But it all happens so
mechanism.
quickly, though, so they just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's an excellent mechanism for. It's a good defense mechanism to always look like somebody that somebody remembers fondly, because
Oh,
they're going to
for
look
sure.
past you sucking the salt out of a crewman, which
Right.
and he's got splotches all over his face. So then, and something
They
else.
bring him back on board.
So they bring him back on board, and they study him, and they cannot figure out. Dr. McCoy's even like, this guy shouldn't be dead. We've got no idea why this person would be dead.
So crazy.
What?
Those scenes were so crazy, just the tone of them too, because we were just saying how NBC needed to say that it was lighter and all that. They were just making jokes and keeping smiling faces over this newly dead crewman.
Yeah, and Kirk does. It's weird because Kirk 1 minute is cracking a joke over a dead crewman, and then the next minute he's telling Bones, "God damn it, I've got a dead crewman. We got to take this seriously."
Yeah,
it's like,
he's
which
like-
is it, Kirk? And he's got a hilarious joke. I'm glad you mentioned that because the Enterprise was on their way to deliver supplies to somebody. And he's on the bridge, and Uhura is like, "Hey, so the place we're resupplying is asking when they can expect us." And Kirk is like, "You can tell Jose I'll get him his chili peppers. I'll get him his jalapeno peppers soon enough. It's not an emergency." He's like, "I picked them myself. They're extra hot." And it's just so funny that it seemed so racist, and
Yeah.
and it's just so it's
It's
hilarious that he's like, "Hey, tell Jose." It just jumped out. It was very funny because it's just like, "Hey, he's talking about a future space Mexican."
Jalapenos are so appreciated.
Yes, and honestly, the guy might not. By that time, 400 years from now,
Oh,
Jose
yeah.
might just be a white person's name. You never can tell. With society. But that's another example of the jokes that they're cracking that show that they wanted to make a lighter show than what they did in the pilot. There's one other thing that I want to discuss because they're kind of like setting the groundwork for how these characters are going to interact going forward, even though this was the 3rd or 4th episode they produced. But Uhura has a conversation with Spock where they're both just kind of chilling out, shooting the shit on the bridge, like there's not really anything going on, and Uhura is they're talking, and Uhura's like, "Yes, Spock, I'm an illogical woman," and she
But
wants
it's
Spock.
like, don't you ever take a break? Can't you ever loosen up? And Spock's just like, or no, she goes,
Tell
"Is
me I'm
there,
beautiful."
Yeah, no, that too, but also like, have you ever had a romantic night? Just like
In
looking at the
Vulcan.
moon and
Yeah,
this and
what-
that, and
what-
he turns and says like, Vulcan has no moon. What
Yeah,
do you mean?
that's the funny little button on the end of the joke,
Yeah.
on the end of that interaction, because at first she's like, "Oh, Spock, tell me I'm pretty. Tell me what Vulcan looks like on a beautiful night. What does the moon of Vulcan look like when you're there with your lover?" And he's like, "Hey, Vulcan doesn't have a moon." And she's like, "You don't get it." And it's
I don't have to. I don't need to.
it's very heavy-handed, but it definitely shows that they kind of understood what they wanted to do with the characters already.
That interaction too also continues when Uhura's like, "Wait, that could be Spock, or excuse me, that could be Kirk that died." When they transport back those.
Yes, later. So there's, and we'll get to that, but put a pin in that because yes, there's definitely more on that later in terms of Uhura thinking that Spock is basically a computer. So they're trying to figure out why this crewman died. and they just cannot figure it out. At one point, the ship says bridge to dispensary, or Captain Kirk to the dispensary, and I think that's funny because it's like Kirk's got to go pick up his weed on his way to the bridge. But so they go back down to the planet, and they're going to talk to Dr. Crater and see what's going on, and bing, bang, boom. Oh, another person dies, but they don't see it this time.
So many more die so much faster.
Yeah,
too.
So this is Crewman Green, and this is important because this guest star looks insane. And maybe it's the HD remasters. Maybe it's the HD remasters will really tighten up a 1,000-yard stare. Because he's got a lot of once he's the shapeshifter, he just looks unhinged.
Really good job, though.
Yeah, and this is an actor that was probably on some random cop show 2 weeks before, and then he just absolutely kills it in this spot as a shapeshifter of this Lieutenant Green or whoever. And that's when they come up, they get beamed back to the ship.
And then, it's the other three.
Yeah, and then all Spock and the bridge know is that somebody was injured, and the three of them are beaming back. And Uhura's like, "Don't you show any information? That could be your Kirk, the closest thing you have to a friend." A dig. She's so racist against Vulcans, and she knows he can't feel things because of his whatever they call it. And then he says, "Hey, the people in the transporter room are well trained. They can take care of it.
They'll let me know if they need help." He goes, "My reaction won't really change the situation."
Exactly. It's very Vulcan.
Very, very straightforward.
Very logical. So now they have a
now
shapeshifter.
Green's on board, right?
Lieutenant Green, aka the
Green.
shapeshifter, the salt-craving shapeshifter. And I wonder how the writers got to that. I wonder what the writers thought salt had to do with shapeshifting. But I
they
just
never
think
explained why they needed it, right?
No, not really. They just explain. They eventually explain that this is the last of their kind, and they ate all the salt on the planet.
You know what I heard in the back of my mind? It's how everything they see is always almost fucking extinct.
Yeah, they always find one of a thing,
and it's maybe it's not such a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a big galaxy. We definitely wouldn't want those salt shapeshifters out there fucking shit up. But Kirk's got some great lines. He's regarding this, what's going on. He says, "Mysteries give me a bellyache, and I've got a beauty right now." And so then, when McCoy, so they're testing this, they're testing these salt pellets at one point, and McCoy eats a salt pellet, and he says, "Salt." That's what it is. And I just imagine that was his audition to play McCoy. It was okay, we need you to read this side. And it's just Kirk going, "Yeah, this tastes like salt," and handing it to him, and he goes, "Salt."
Oh, yeah, that scene, that made me laugh.
Yeah, that was when they were down on the planet the second time when Green was getting the salt suckered out of his body.
And he was like, "Wait, but if you're looking for salt, how much do you have?" And he's like, "We're down to our very last drop. We used to have 25 pounds,
and now we got these."
Bottle was super, super small.
It was a big jar with a few salt tablets in the bottom, so you can tell that they're getting desperate. And this is when when Green becomes the shapeshifter. Lieutenant Green becomes the shapeshifter, goes back to the ship. Basically this then it's just this Lieutenant Green on the search for salt, and it's so funny because the first time he sees the captain's yeoman and she's carrying a tray of food that has a salt shaker and a pepper shaker.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was like, why not bags or something?
Yeah, why not find where they keep the salt on the ship?
Salt shaker.
Yeah, and then just the fact that it's he just sees this. It's just such a funny it's like a diner salt shaker.
He just reaches out every time.
Yeah, and she's like, "Hey, this isn't for you." It's Green. My notes just say Green wants salt. Damn it!
And his eyes. Oh my god.
Yes, just the piercing HD 4K eyeballs from the past. And that's the other thing about watching a good HD remaster of something from the 60s. It makes it look so current. Like, it really makes their features pop. It makes their eyes look all wet, and like you can see how sweaty everybody was. We talked about that a lot while we were watching it. Especially when they're on the planet where they're supposed to be sweaty because it's a hot planet.
Yeah.
But they're constantly wiping sweat. One thing before we get too much further, while Green is bouncing around being the shapeshifter, we find out that Sulu, in his office, he's got a bunch of plants.
It's like, what is it called?
Is he the botanist?
Botanist, yeah.
So
that's what it seems
I guess
like.
I didn't know that about Sulu. Like, I know that eventually
I thought he was some medical officer too.
Well, I thought he was a helmsman because he's always at the helm. He's always on the bridge at the helm.
True.
But apparently he's also
but those effects were really cool.
Yeah, and they did a little plant puppet because one of the plants is like a living plant. And then they did this great little bit that reminded me of like the Terminator movies and shit when Green walks in there, that living plant goes nuts and basically starts barking at him. And
otherwise it would have died too, though, which is insane.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, like, just right about the Green was going after Zulu.
Oh, yeah. So Sulu, that's right. Green was going to try and get Sulu's salt out of his body, and the plant started barking, and they stopped. And it just reminded me of, like, in the Terminator movies, how they would use dogs to identify the Terminators because they would bark. And in every movie about aliens and shit, it's always like the dogs can tell who the aliens are because they have their extrasensory animal senses. And I'm just checking my notes here.
It was really nice to see that the puppetry, kind of do its work in magic.
Yeah,
they contribute to the scene.
Good practical effects it was
cool.
And that's a good point that it actually contributed to the action of the scene. You don't see that a lot. You don't see that as often nowadays. Motivated actions. The plant identifies the shapeshifter.
So then the shapeshifter leaves. He's in the hallway.
And they're like, and she says, he must be space happy.
Oh, yeah, I did hear that. That was, isn't that a term, what is it, what is that, seasick?
Well, seasick is when you get motion sick at sea, but, I thought of it as, like, I just watched the Ren and Stimpy Space Madness last night, and so when she said space happy, but it's actually, in Futurama, they call it, when they're underwater, she calls it underwater, she called it underwater madness or the deep down crazies, but it's like this would be the space version.
There's a name for it though. It's like a specific.
When you go crazy on a ship.
Yeah.
I don't know. Google that shit while I'm talking about how. He then goes to find out if you can find that. But he then goes to Uhura, who he hits on by looking like somebody that she would find attractive. And he hits on her in Swahili, and it's very smooth. It doesn't, and then he slowly looks like he's about to strangle her, and these other people show up, and he doesn't, and then that's when everything kind of comes together. And they find out that they have at that point they go back down to the planet and they identify that Green is actually dead. And that's when they know that the shapeshifter is on board the ship.
But at that point, the shapeshifter killed one person, right? Two?
Yeah, the shapeshifter had killed two people on the planet, and soon three people. No,
because the crewman at first, and then Green, and then the other guy.
Well, but no, it's already on the ship after it kills Green, though. So it kills somebody on the ship. So yeah, it's killed three people, two on the planet, one on the ship at this point.
No, three on the planet.
Oh,
right. Because that's how they didn't find Green the first time they all went up.
Well, but there was the guy with the blue shirt that died, and then Green.
Yeah,
and I think it's just two.
No, but then they bring the first victim up, and then they come down with two more people, Green and someone
Oh man,
else.
So many people died in this episode that I'm just remembering not enough of them.
Because they only saw the one guy. They were calling for Green, and then Green comes up. And Green's already disguised at that point.
So this is where if we did have fans that listen to this podcast, they would be ranting in the comments about how we're idiots because we just watched this fucking episode and Adam has no idea what was going on. But I will say this: once they find out that the salt,
they call immediately, obviously.
Yeah. So then they ring all the bells. The shapeshifter's on the ship. And so now they have to put together their war cabinet, their people that are going to figure out how to stop this shapeshifter.
Oh, right.
But I guess before we get to that, we have to talk about how the shapeshifter puts McCoy to sleep. Because so McCoy's complaining about
strange.
we missed that. So McCoy was complaining about not being able to sleep lately, and Kirk is like, just pill yourself up, motherfucker.
That was so strange that he recommended the chief medical officer to take pills to go to sleep.
Kirk was like, just give me one of those red pills you gave me last week and put me out like a light.
It sounds great.
Like, I'm into that kind of future, but it was just very out of place. So then, and he doesn't take the pills, but then flash forward a few scenes later, and he doesn't even think about the fact that Nancy. He kind of questions that Nancy's on the ship.
He's so enamored. Though,
yeah, and she looks older now because she's trying to be a more realistic look. And long story short, because there's a lot of uninteresting shit that happens, kind of. But then gets him to take the pills, so he goes to sleep, and of course, then she becomes McCoy. And it leads to one of my favorite exchanges of when somebody's a shapeshifter and they're in the meeting about the shapeshifter.
So funny.
And that because the dramatic irony of the scene where it's like McCoy and the other primary officer is discussing what to do about having the shapeshifter on board. McCoy is clearly the shapeshifter. Like, he is not acting like McCoy. He's not saying
not at all. He doesn't know what to do. They give the medical report, and then he gives like the strangest suggestion, and everyone's like,
yeah. Oh, that was. And so what they're gonna do, what Kirk or Spock, what Spock says is, we're gonna put salt out, and we're gonna trick this salt creature into coming out, and then we're gonna capture it. And McCoy, who clearly is not the salt creature, McCoy says, hey, why don't we just offer to give the creature salt and, like, not be dicks about it? Like, that's
He's not been hostile lately.
Yeah, no, I mean, he only killed people because it was trying to live, and nobody's like, man, you sure do relate to this salt creature.
Oh, and Crater backs him up, too.
Yeah, a person that's not talking like McCoy at all.
Yeah, and, that's where it comes in handy when that Starfleet has so many procedures and precautions, that they have with these meetings. They were just like, Bones medical report, and he's like, what?
I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing, except, well, the one thing I would recommend is we just give this creature salt and be cool about it.
And Crater backing him up.
Who does?
Crater.
Oh, yeah, of course, Dr. Crater. And that's the other thing.
So funny.
Dr. Crater is in that meeting, and Dr. Crater is like, yeah, we should just be nice to the creature and figure it out. And they point blank ask Crater, are you able to identify this creature no matter what it looks like? Or do you see is anybody in this room? Does anybody hear the creature?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, even if I could, I wouldn't tell you. And I don't know. Do you think he knew that? So do you think he knew that McCoy was the creature?
Oh, I feel like at that point, probably the reason why is because he doesn't tell them. You can tell that he's just gets immediately nervous. And there's definitely meant to be tension in that scene because Crater is supporting all of McCoy's arguments, even though they don't have reason to like each other, other than salt.
Yes. And this is where we get, I think this is where Crater tells the buffalo story, because he's trying to garner sympathy for the creature. And we'll get to a second because here's the thing. I don't think he knew that McCoy was the creature at this point. I think that Kirk was like, would you be able to tell? And he's like, yes, but I'm not going to tell you. And I think the funny thing is, no, he can't fucking tell. I don't think he could tell that McCoy is the creature.
It was so ironic that he was saying that.
But at this point, two important things happen here.
Wait, why does Spock bring up the truth serum, though?
Well, because after the buffalo, so he tells the buffalo story first. He says, this creature's just the last of their kind. It's like the buffalo, right? And then Spock says, let's just shoot him full of truth serum about Dr. Crater, and then he'll tell us who the creature is, if he can. And this is so hilarious, because 3 scenes ago, Kirk was basically like, hey, just take one of them red pills you gave me. And then, now Spock is like, just shoot him in the neck with truth serum. Like, the Federation.
Why are we wasting time?
Yeah, imagine if Cisco on DS9, if the first thing that when somebody's being difficult is, just shoot him full of truth serum.
There's got to be some reports about that too, and how often they would do that.
Oh, you think that they would have to log their truth serum
Oh,
use
for sure.
with the Federation?
They would have to. Yeah.
I don't know. It seems kind of like the Old West. I feel like they
This is after Pike and all that, right? His time.
Well, yeah, but they didn't when they made this show. They didn't know that. But yeah, but yeah, yes. You'd think that they would be. I just think they would be less cavalier about the use of drugs for.
It was the '60s, so
yeah. There you go. And like we know about truth serum from James Bond at that point. So that's kind of like what James Bond
like
would
a
do.
blanket. It's like a nice blanket that covers everything.
Yes, and
Give them some truth serum.
exactly because and I guess truth,
Why wouldn't you?
well, truth serum is more humane than beating the shit out of them. I guess.
Oh, of course.
Like to a degree, and we also found out that Spock could not be affected by the creature because he's got those Vulcan blood salts.
He's like, my oceans are not your oceans.
Yeah, my oceans are not your oceans. I got them Vulcan blood salts.
I was like, huh, okay.
And then so other things
Makes
happen.
sense.
A few other things happen, and then we get to the big scene where McCoy, so basically the monster. What happens next?
I feel like the monster's still on the bridge, but then what is it? Kirk and Spock go back down to the planet to go after Crater.
Yeah, so they
Crater
go
goes
to
back
try
to
and
the
get
planet.
Crater, but no, they did that before because he's on the ship now for the meeting.
Oh,
So
yeah,
when they
that's
went,
right.
that's when they found Green's body and he was dead. That's when they went down to get Crater. That all happened at the same time. But so basically, they come up to it's the creature is the creature trying to eat the Vulcan. The creature's like trying to eat Spock, right?
Yeah, he tries to, but it doesn't succeed
Because of the Vulcan the
exactly.
bath salts blood, the Vulcan blood
But
salts.
at that point, the creature already killed someone else before Spock.
And the important thing about this scene is the creature is trying to kill Spock, and McCoy and Kirk come in, and McCoy refuses to shoot the monster because the monster looks like Nancy, his ex girlfriend. And that's when.
But then the creature tries to attempt to kill Kirk.
Yeah, and then the creature attacks Kirk. And Spock is telling McCoy Bones to shoot, and eventually he does shoot. And then we see the
Frame change is so funny too.
Well, I guess we didn't even talk about how. So they come into the room, and because this is a big oversight.
Right. We're getting mixed up.
It's really hot where we're recording. So they come into the room where Spock is being attacked by the monster. And then for the first time, we see what the monster looks like. There's a dissolved reveal of the monster. And he's got like a disgusting sucker mouth and suckers on its hands that it uses to make those
like
red...
a weird fluffy octopus or something.
Yes.
Hairy.
But the octopus tentacles are the fingers. And it is hairy. And the thing that... Why is it
like
wearing
shaggy.
a net? Why is it wearing a net?
Yeah, just like a drape around it.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Like, did somebody try and catch it, and it got stuck in a net? Because it's a monster with suckers on its mouth and
Maybe
hands.
it's the closest thing. It has the clothes, but then it's like if you're transforming shapes, then why transform clothes?
Why wear clothes at all?
Yeah, if you
at that point, and it's definitely revealing. It's not hiding your shame, shape-shifting monster. So then they blast the monster, they kill it, and it just falls to the ground. He shoots it when it's Nancy. Bones shoots Nancy. Nancy lays down on the ground. He's traumatized for about 5 seconds until the end when they're all laughing it off.
Sure.
And then Nancy falls in a very specific position, and then it dissolves back to the monster, and it's just this person in a monster costume as a heap on the ground wearing a net. Doesn't make any sense.
It's like the monster has like a wig looking thing too, so it looks like a girl still.
Well, it's just interesting that they would put a wig on a monster. Like, just let the monster be dignified and bald. You don't have to put a hairpiece on a monster. So then they resolve everything. They end up on the bridge, And there's one last joke where somebody asks Kirk, "Hey, what are you thinking about?" And he says, "Oh, I was thinking about the buffalo." And then they all kind of laugh, and he looks at McCoy, and McCoy smiles, traumatized for life that he had to shoot his ex-girlfriend shapeshifter form.
And just because of his ignorance caused the deaths of maybe 7 people?
Yeah, and we don't even know how many more people that alien killed when we were watching.
True. We weren't counting.
And so we found out that Uhura is kind of racist against Vulcans, and that's interesting because
conflict.
They end up together. They end up together in the J.J. Abrams verse, the J.J. Abrams.
Oh yeah, that's
movies.
true. That's true.
And I think there's little hints of that later in the original series. But that is the recap of the Man Trap. Al, what did you like about this episode of Star Trek: The Original Series?
I think they really wanted to impress, with the visual transitions and the transformations and stuff. But the best part was easily the beginning with the camera angle changes, and that was really clever. The way, the Nancy character, let me give this context. When Kirk and Bones and the
rando guy,
the other random guy, at the very beginning of the episode when they're meeting, the creature Nancy. Just the changes all of a sudden from the actresses, and then the way that they shifted from okay, she's going to be here over at the left, so then we're going to start the camera all the way over at this character, and then a new actress will come in coming from the right, and just cutting it really. I think it was the speed and just showed how smooth it was, and
Absolutely.
How it's interesting how they probably just had one actress just do all those single shots, and just maybe the editor did his gold.
Yeah, they just added them in later.
Yeah,
and
especially when they leave the house too, and then the no-name guy is just sitting out there, and then it backs out to the blonde lady that walks out.
Yeah,
and that's really smart.
Plus, it's nice that they're making work for so many young actresses,
as quickly.
Yeah,
no, and the costume designers too. I mean, that must have been fun.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even mention. Yeah, she's wearing a completely different thing for each person too.
It's her, and then her in a wig, and then it's another actress
in a dress.
Yeah,
in a white dress. She's the one that eats the salt out of the blue shirt.
Yeah, that's the first one, huh? But it's so we hear Kirk scream, but then we didn't hear that first guy scream either. But I guess maybe
the first guy. No, she screams.
Yeah, she does
to
scream.
Bring them all in, and that's when she said he ate a random plant that must have poisoned him. And so I just really liked that.
Yeah, what did you think?
I really like that this, and they do a good job of making the series seem kind of lived in, right? If this is the first episode that aired, we get that they start with an emotional McCoy plot, which is
the ex-girlfriend. Now you brought that up. It's really strange.
So it seems like it was just a later episode, and obviously it makes sense because this isn't the first episode that they shot. They shot
no, definitely
where No Man has gone before first.
There's a lot of hints too, where it's Kirk is your only friend, right? That when Uhura says to Spock.
Uhura tells Spock, Kirk's the closest thing you have to a friend.
And they already have banter, and everybody seems more comfortable compared to the very first episode that we watched.
Yeah, the original pilot. It's night and day.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's probably so much discussion in the Star Trek community about how the tone of this episode is so much different than the tone of other episodes. And there is. I saw a little bit of that when I was reading the Wikipedia about it or whatever. But I just really liked that. And I love the creature design for the weird sucker alien wearing the net.
That was really clever.
All the space shots always look great. The person that played Dr. Crater. Why would I not have the entertainment or the Internet Movie Database up for this episode?
What was I gonna think? Oh yeah, I was thinking though the first victim with all the holes on his face.
Yes.
I was just does she just kiss him a lot?
All the suckers. We don't even really see all the suckers until the end.
And you're like, that makes sense.
Yes. Oh, Alfred Ryder. So Gene Bell played Nancy Crater. I think the standouts in this episode were Alfred Ryder, who played Professor Robert Crater, and then Bruce Watson, who played Lieutenant Green. And it's funny because I don't know, what else Bruce Watson did necessarily. Let's see. But yeah, he was in some stuff in the late 60s and early 70s, but his IMDb picture is, of course, Lieutenant Green from this episode of Star Trek. He did such a good job. Really made you think he wanted to get your salt. And I thought that worked out great. But so that's it. That's what we thought of the episode.
It's interesting, though. I have a question where it's like, why wouldn't they made it seem so dire of like, oh, we needed salt right away. They couldn't have just waited for a couple more days, like Kirk said.
Well, yes, they had some salt, but maybe it wasn't enough. But that's like, yes, it was a salt emergency. But what I thought was crazy about that is, why didn't the guy just tell them?
They weren't like, okay, we'll give you salt.
Like, yeah, and they wanted to get down there and that was another thing we didn't mention is Bones is like dead set on it. Bones is dead set on giving them medical examinations.
Yeah, exactly. That's
and of course,
the whole reason.
Dr. Crater doesn't want that because they'll see that it's a salt-eating alien, not his wife Nancy. But so why wouldn't they just say that? Like, what do they think of the Federation? Just say, hey, so this is a creature, and it's the last of their kind. We need to protect it. It needs salt. That's
true. The Federation would have been like, we need to take care of it. It's a living species. It's the last of its kind. Da 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 da.
I just want to make very clear.
Maybe Picard would have saved it.
If anybody actually listens to this podcast, I want you to know that if we're ever investigating a shapeshifter together, and I suggest, hey, why don't we just give the shapeshifter what it wants? I'm the shapeshifter. I promise
such
you.
A ridiculous scene.
Why don't we just give him the salt? You know?
I was like,
oh man,
it won't be mad anymore. And I was like,
loved it. And
there were a lot of people that die.
Honestly, the creature was right. The creature was right to eat those people for their salt. It did just need to live, but it's Dr. Crater is the real villain for not telling them.
Yeah, Crater was just confusing.
So that's
otherwise pretty solid episode.
Great, especially since it's the first episode that aired. I think they really hit the ground running. That's The Man Trap, Star Trek the original series, episode 1 that aired on September 8th, 1966. And Al and I like to end each episode talking about something that we're watching or playing or doing. And I think I'm going to let you go first, Al. What's something that you watched or that you're doing lately? Playing, reading, watching?
I guess really now I've just started recently picking up just the South Park RPG. Just the reason why was because, not a promotion, but I got the Essential package for the PlayStation Network, so I started using that. And with the catalog, you get a bunch of games, right?
Yeah.
I got South Park's Fractured Butthole.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I played one of those South Park games, and I thought it was really funny, but I didn't finish it.
The thing is, like, it's a lot of South Park. Like, you really got to be in the mood for South Park to play it, because it's just everything in the universe you could think of. Granted, it's a little, over the top with the fandom creepiness, because, like, you can go in every single house and see every single closet and, like, see all their stuff. You could see Cartman's stuff. You could see Stan's stuff, Kyle's. I haven't been to Kenny's house yet, but it's just, it's really solid in terms of, like, the story. The thing is, and this is what happened with the last one with a lot of people, it's just the replayability. After you've done it once, are you willing, like you said, to go through that entire story again, It
ain't Elden Ring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's nothing like...
It's not a Dark Souls game where part of it is replaying it.
It's turn-based, and you have to really be into the turn-based area combat kind of system that they have down. And you got to be, like, really into that, to love the game, because that's a good chunk of it.
It's fun. So
otherwise, it's pretty funny. If you like South Park, obviously.
I liked, and I'm not a huge fan of the current South Park, but the eras of South Park that they base those games on it's very classic. I enjoy the things that they chose. When I played the first one that they did,
Stick of Truth.
Yeah, I played most of that, but I think it's that game. Stick of Truth really reminded me of Mario RPG. Are you aware of that? It's a Super Nintendo game way before your time, obviously, but if you have any access to any virtual consoles, it was released for the Wii on Virtual Console and the Wii U, and so
that's a turn-based one though.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's SquareSoft. It's SquareSoft doing
so crazy.
It's just I can't. There's a time when SquareSoft just made a Mario RPG. In fact, that's my thing today that I'm going to say that I am enjoying. I have Mario RPG on the Wii U. and the only reason I would turn it on is to play Mario RPG. But it's such a funny game that, I mean, they invent a bunch of new characters, but still,
But
you get Bowser on your team, and they all have different attacks, and it's just a very lightweight Final Fantasy game with a Mario skin. But I love it. If you have any access to Mario RPG, they need to put it on the... I guess this is ostensibly just an ad for Super Nintendo in general, but the Super Nintendo selection of games for the Switch that you can get for like $4.99, you can access Super Nintendo games, regular Nintendo games. It's not a great selection, but they got to get Mario RPG on there.
We'll see.
So the one listener out there has got to petition Nintendo to get Mario RPG released on the Switch. And other than that, I'm still playing Turtles. Oh, I guess I can say that because I said that on the pilot.
Yeah.
TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I'm playing it on the Switch. So that's very good. I love Turtles in Time. I love Turtles the arcade game. They made it current.
They did a really good job with that.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's almost too long to play in one sitting, so it gives you a reason to go back to it. And there is some replayability because playing it through with each character is a little bit different. But so I recommend Mario RPG and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge on whatever platform you have. And that has been Untitled Star Trek Podcast, Episode 1 of the actual series. Episode 2, it's going to be number 1 on your podcast app. And we're going to have a title by the time these come out. So
definitely.
Thanks for listening. Follow us, write reviews where you review podcasts, subscribe.
Spread the word.
Wherever you're listening. Maybe we have a Twitter account. Maybe we don't.
We'll see where this heads.
We'll see what happens. But thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.